What is going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Sunday, November 5th, 2023. And we are here because we have to do another one of those straightening type of streams where it's some people out here that are so out of pocket when it comes to their anti-blackness that we just cannot let it continue to go on unchecked. Even though I think I've talked about this person before, but some people in here have no clue who this woman is. But after today, you will be finding out exactly who she is and how to deal with her accordingly. But before we get into it, shout out to everybody that is here so far. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe that subscribe button, hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I go live or upload a new video. Shout out to all of my patrons over there on Patreon. Shout out to all of my members. And also, speaking of my members, y'all most likely saw a post that I made on the members only. I hope that everyone is going to, who is a member of the channel, will be available on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because for the first time, I will be doing my first ever members only live stream. So if you are not a member, I would highly suggest that you check that out, because what I have to talk about, I can't talk about it publicly here on YouTube. It's something that's been talked about on YouTube, but the discussion that was had with what I'm going to show, some of the language that is used is not for public consumption. So if you are a member of the channel, you will definitely be in for something. I'll put it like that. I won't go into too much detail, but I'll just leave it right there. So if you are a member of the channel, you will be able to check that out on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But before I get into everything we're going to talk about today, let me give a shout out and acknowledge to those of who are in the chat so far. Dreams Don't Expire Media, Ebony Ennis, Kill Yourself, J.O. Grape Shot, DJ DeMarcus Vaughn, Miss Renee, Denise Scales, Haxon KT, Joseph Washington, Savion, Robert C., Quasi Blackstar, Ricky 12, Chris Vesey, Patricia Slade, My Ancestors' Wildest Dreams, Ricky 12, Don P. Ben Yehuda, Mike Mellis, John, J. Cage, Liquid Fort K, Dewani Nelson, Mike Mellis, John. Shout out to everybody that is in here so far. There's 92 of you in here so far. Let's see if we can get this thing to over 100 before I actually go ahead and get started. As a matter of fact, if I touch 100, I'll get started earlier than 3:10. So that gives us about 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, honestly. We have Keith Cunningham and Denise Scales. Oh, we got a new member. Shout out to Savion Draco Zero for becoming a member of the channel. That means you will be able to look at the live stream that I will be having on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Trust and believe me, it's like I said, it's going to be something. Just believe me when I say that. All right. Y'all heard, apparently with me saying that once I get to 100, we can go ahead and get started. Now that thing jumped from like 96 to 108, so that means now we can go ahead and get started. But before I actually show anything, put a 1 in the chat if you are familiar with Diane Yap, and put a 2 in the chat if you are not familiar with her. Like, you've never heard of this woman before. Today will be your introduction to her. You have no clue who she is, what she's all about, but you just know that she's on that anti-black tip. Latanda asked, was I still working out? Of course. Monday through Wednesday, unless I'm unavailable that day. But yes, I am still very much active in the gym. Okay, Keith said 1, Chris said 2. It's a string of 2s coming through. Ari, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly or not. And Don P and Haxon said 1. It's a lot of 2s coming in. It's a lot of 2s. All right. Think of, when I say Diane Yap, think of your Michelle Malkins, your Miami Parks, or your Michelle Malkins, your Juju Changs. Think across that spectrum. And Diane Yap has managed to find a way to squeeze herself into that space, but more so online and social media rather than anything, opposed to the other women who actually been on television before. The most furthest this woman has ever been is probably in a Congress, in a federal hearing, which I'm going to actually play a little bit of for you, so y'all can get an introduction the way that I did of this woman. And that's when I started to look at her and with the side eye and kept her on the radar. She kind of like drifted in the radar until recently, which is why we are talking about her today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna play the segment that she was talking in when it came to talking about the federal response to anti-Asian racism. Now, at first, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to find this because this was posted 7 months ago on March 24th, 2023 at 1 p.m. And it's part of a almost 4-hour session, and I didn't know where she came in or where she ended at, but thankfully I was able to find it. She's actually very early on with her talking because they have a whole panel. If you can see right here, this is the whole panel. If you see where my cursor is right here that I'm hovering over or circling, this is Diane Yap right here. So I'm going to play for y'all, and I sped it up a little bit for copyright purposes, not too much to the point where you wouldn't understand what it is that she's saying. And I want y'all to hear what she talks about initially and then see what she segues into.
Thank you, Ms. Yap. You have 7 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Yap, and I was born and raised in San Francisco. Unfortunately, my city has changed over the years into one where Asian seniors are afraid to leave their own homes. There's been a surge of violent and often fatal attacks against Asians. Just a few examples. 70-year-old Mrs. Ren was shoved to the floor, beaten, kicked in the head by 3 teens and an 11-year-old. 2 elderly women were stabbed with a machete while waiting for a bus. A 15-year-old boy was stabbed in the neck on the bus by a 12-year-old boy. However, none of these brutal attacks have been classified as hate crimes. Hate crimes, while certainly on the rise, are a small fraction of the violence faced by Asians in this country. According to the Department of Justice's 2021 Criminal Victimization Report, Asians were the victims in nearly 170,000 violent incidents, while the number of anti-Asian hate crimes in 2021 was just 305. This is not to minimize the impact of hate crime victimization, but to put the scope of the problem into proper context. The danger in restricting our analysis to just hate crimes is that we misdiagnose the cause. Who is responsible for these attacks against Asians? It appears that attacks against Asians only stirred interest on Capitol Hill once there was a way to blame conservatives or white supremacy, like that oft-repeated statistic that 75% of anti-Asian hate crimes are perpetrated by white people. Diving into the source material reveals it's based on incidents from 4,337 news articles about coronavirus-related anti-Asian racism in the United States. Of these, there were just 12 incidents with physical contact where the race of the perpetrator was known. Of those 12, 9 had white perpetrators, hence 75%. By comparison, the same study included 55 tweets from Donald Trump alone. Yet, a tweet never put grandma in the hospital.
I want y'all to pay attention to what she's doing right now. So she's setting up what is going on, or what she's claiming is going on with Asians out there in California. And all is stemming back to the woo-woo of 2020. I keep telling people the reason why they got this, the reason why they got that anti-Asian hate crime bill is because they had to throw a propaganda and say that it was black people that was doing stuff physically to them. Not because of what Donald Trump was saying. Keep in mind, Donald Trump was saying a lot of stuff about them prior to that. One would think that, okay, if you was going to get that, it came from the stuff that he said. But peep what she just said right here. She said a lot of stuff that came out as anti-Asian was said at the hands of Donald Trump via Twitter, when it was called Twitter, of course, and when he was on Twitter. But then she follows him, says a tweet never put grandma in the hospital. So she's giving you the foundation, but peep what she's about to say. I want y'all to pay attention to what she's about, what she's about to leap off the edge and say next.
The urgent issue of violence against Asians predates COVID. The 2018 Criminal Victimization Report by the Bureau of Justice Statistics shows violent incidents by race of victim and offender. The largest share, 27.5%, are perpetrated by Black offenders.
There it is. But keep in mind, she says this predates the woo-woo. In 2018, 27% of the alleged anti-Asian hate crimes happened at the hands of Black people. My question to her is, if that was indeed the case, why didn't y'all get a crime bill then? Why did it have to come out after that? And then why was it technically titled under the name of what the pandemic was? If that was indeed the case, why didn't y'all get it then? I'm telling you, this woman is very shady. Like I said, I paused it right there at that other part because that was the setup. That was the setup right there for her to leap into this part right here where she's talking about where Asians were physically attacked. And how do we know that the physical attacks was because they were Asian? They never answer that question. Because, you know, whenever black people get into an altercation with someone who is not black, they love to say it's because a black person doesn't like them because of their this and their that. The Asian American community does it. PC is doing it. The Academy loves to do it. And give it some time, the South of the Bordarians are going to do it too.
While Asians commit just 0.1% of such attacks against Black victims.
I would like to see the stats on that.
If all those living nearby were equally likely to attack Asians, Blacks are attacking Asians at more than 3 times the expected rate.
See, this is the thing. This is how they get the crime. This is how they get their crime bills. We say that it's black people that's doing it the most. Now, mind you, she just gave you some stats where it was PC people. But when she gets to the black people, then that's when she wants to amplify it. And this is how they get their anti-Asian hate crime bill. Just say it's black people doing it the most, and boom, you got it. You don't think other groups of people don't pay attention to that?
The average Asian lives in a neighborhood that's just 8% Black. On the other hand, white and Hispanic people are attacking Asians at about half the expected rate. This is not new. A 2008 analysis on physical assault crimes in San Francisco showed that in 85% of cases, the victim was Asian and the perpetrators were African American. Sadly, government policymakers and media outlets do not want to acknowledge that Black on Asian violence is a problem.
There it is. See? Her setup was to get PC out of the way before she go after her intended target, which was black people. So now she went back to 2018. Now then she took it back 10 years even further to 2008. What question I had for Diane is what was going on between 2008, 2009 and 2017? And then what was going on between 2019 to now? I know she's not going to pull that up. I know she's not going to bring that up.
And racial resentment is at the root of the problem. This resentment is well explained by the middleman minority concept. Immigrants who occupy a low barrier niche in the economy like retail and via punishing work schedules and self-sacrifice ascend from poverty to prosperity, often within one generation. Middleman minorities have faced violence throughout history because native populations of lower status feel entitled to the same outcomes. Today's expectation of equal outcomes can be summarized by one word: equity. The repetition of this term in policy discussions implies that all outcomes should be doled out proportionately amongst different racial groups, regardless of relevant factors such as behavior. But we should expect proportionate outcomes only if these are assigned at random. But police don't arrest people at random. Courts don't imprison people at random. The government does not randomly force anyone to drop out of high school, nor does it randomly assign anyone to a life of poverty. All of these outcomes depend largely on behavior and individual choices. When you are repeatedly told that outcomes are unfair because they are racially disproportionate, it is natural to resent the beneficiaries of this imagined unfairness. Unfortunately, such a mindset breeds racial resentment and thus anti-Asian hate.
So she's basically trying to lay out this whole thing and saying that black people are the most display the most anti-Asian sentiments than any other group. That's what I gathered in just the last maybe minute or so of what she just said. That's what she's pushing. Now, keep in mind, this was from 7 months ago. They already have their anti-Asian hate crime bill on the books and have had it on the books for, at that time, about 2 years at that time. It's over 2 years now because it was signed in 2021. So my question is, by her saying this, what more are they trying to get? They already got their hate crime bill on the books. We don't, unfortunately. So what more are they trying to get out of this? It's something else. They're trying to get something else.
While the focus of this hearing is anti-Asian hate crimes, any given Asian individual in the US, out of a total population of about 18 million, is statistically unlikely to be the victim of a hate crime. On the other hand, anti-Asian discrimination in education figures prominently in the life of every Asian American. When I was 12, I saw my friend sobbing at school after acceptance letters to Lowell High arrived. She missed the cutoff score for Chinese students by just 1 point.
Now she's segueing into the whole affirmative action thing. Now, mind you, this was before affirmative action was overturned, because again, this was in March. Affirmative action got overturned by an Asian individual, by, might I add, leading the charge. Not black people. They can't point the finger of blame at black people for this. It was Asian people and some PC people that were helping to overturn that. And now you see they feeling the effects of it now.
If she had been any other race, she would have gotten in. Selective.
Excuse me. Affirmative action heavily benefited Asian individuals, but on a high scale. If you want to talk about it, PC led the chart, led in acceptance under affirmative action. Asians came number 2. As a matter of fact, PC led with legacy admissions, and Asians led with affirmative action. Black people was way low on the totem pole in every facet, no matter what Ivy League or big PWI they got accepted into.
High schools like Lowell High in San Francisco, the Screen Schools of New York City, and #1 ranked Thomas Jefferson in Virginia are all fighting misguided attempts to make their student bodies match area demographics equity. All of these attempts involve degrading or eliminating the consideration of academic proficiency in admissions. Asians bear the brunt of these unconstitutional attempts at racial balancing. Even at Harvard, an Asian applicant with a 25% chance of getting in would have a 95% chance if he were only able to check the African American box instead.
So there it is. There it is, y'all. She's saying he would have had a better chance of getting in if he would have checked the African American box instead. This also goes back into the thing of them claiming that we don't get in on merit, that we only got in because we're black, and that's it. They're basically trying to say that we're too dumb to get into these schools. Last time I checked, it takes more than a good GPA to get into these schools. They want to see if you have the whole package. How well-rounded are you? Have you been a part of your SGA? How many programs are you when you're in school? Do you do community service? A host of things. Is more than a GPA. The problem is with a lot of people in their community, they think it's just book smarts. And that's where many of them screw up. But see how she again threw a black person under the bus. What have you ever thought that maybe it was another PC person that got in ahead of your friend? Or maybe another Asian person that may have not have the best GPA that got in the head of your friend? But oh no, let's just throw the black person under the bus. Oh, we just at the beginning, y'all. This is just the introduction. I got a lot of stuff to show y'all about this woman. This is only the beginning. Like I told you, this video right here that y'all looking at, this is how I got introduced to her. This is how I found out about her. So we're going on this little time tunnel together. Those of y'all who weren't familiar with who she was before are getting familiar with her now the same way I did.
Nothing else about him would. And
shout out to Fauna Faye for the $5 super chat, kicking it off today. I feel nothing for them because they easily get business loans and sell poison. They don't eat to our communities and stalk us in their stores. Right. And I appreciate it. A shout out to you.
Have to change. The role of the government is not and should not be to put the thumb on the scale in order to produce racially proportionate outcomes. The goal should not be equal outcomes or equity, but rather equal opportunity. The government's role is to ensure that no one faces discrimination on the basis of race. On the matter of hate crimes, that means better crime prevention generally in the form of increased police presence, surveillance of hotspots, predictive policing, and especially imprisonment of repeat offenders. On the issue of affirmative action, that means recognizing that such policies discriminate against Asians in favor of objectively less qualified applicants.
You see that subliminal gut punch she did? Significantly lower applicants. She basically says Asian smart, blacks dumb.
If you believe that underrepresented groups...
Miss Renee, I'm glad you said that. Miss Renee said they cheat a lot. I had an Asian dude try to cheat off of me. If y'all remember, I did was it a video? I think it was a video where I was running down how a lot of them have cheated on a lot of these tests to get these good grades. And not even just here in the States, but we're talking about abroad. But there's this stigma put on them that they're so highly intelligent, they're so smart. Some of them will get offended if you try to give them that stereotype. Some, not all. And shout out to Keith Cunningham for the $10 super chat. He said, "Don't worry, karma is undefeated. We all know why they break their tools and when they're done with them. And always remember, they don't add value at all. We are the flagship." I appreciate your super chat.
Deserve special help, then you also believe that there are overrepresented groups that deserve to be discriminated against. These are inextricably linked, and the latter is clearly unconstitutional. If the Supreme Court bans race-based affirmative action, it is the duty of the government to enforce the ban as vigorously as it once enforced Brown v. Board of Education.
Look, she brought up Brown versus the Board of Education, something else that affected Black people. And she tried to link the two together when they're not equally yoked. Well, that didn't pan out well for Miss Yap or many of those of her ilk, because that thing turned on its head almost as soon as they overturned it. June wasn't a good month for them, because it's like as a matter of fact, if y'all watched the premiere video that me and Kid Gravity did this morning, I brought that up about how the overturn of the rate of the affirmative action, how that backfired so fast, more faster than I thought it would. I knew it was going to backfire. I just didn't know when. I said, give it about a year. That it didn't even take a month before they started to feel the burn of what occurred when they decided to overturn that. I bet they wish they didn't do it now.
Thank you. I yield my time.
And that's all. And that's it right there. It goes. This is the only time she speaks. So yeah, y'all this is y'all introduction to Diane Yap. But like I told you, we got some more stuff to talk about concerning her. And now what I'm about to start showing y'all is stuff that I found screenshots of stuff that this woman has put onto her page. And when I tell you, this stuff is steeped in anti-Blackness. And shout out to the fundraiser for the $5 super chat. They said, wasn't there a couple of cases where Asians were found cheating to get in college from UCLA and other Ivy League colleges? It probably was. It probably most likely was. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not surprised either that if that's the case, that Diane Yap didn't talk about it. So that being said, I'm about to segue into the first tweet right here. Now, this was a screenshot that I had came across. I just happened to type her name in. Like, honestly, it wasn't hard to find some screenshots of tweets that she posted. All I had to do was go and type in like Diane Yap, Twitter, Black people, and go into images, and a whole bunch of stuff popped up like this one right here. So peep what she wrote on September 14, 2023. I've been told repeatedly that police don't hassle me because I have quote unquote privilege, implying that it is unearned. It was earned by every person who looks like me and didn't commit crimes. Thanks to you, I almost never fit the description, and I guess she was supposed to say I'm not considered a threat. So she's already put herself into a box that she's one of the safe ones. That's a very dangerous spot she's putting herself in, but that's a very ambitious one at the same time. And when you read between her little code speak, we know what happens when they say fit the description. That fit the description tagline usually always connects to Black people. Whenever they hear say something along the lines of fit the description, fit the description, fit the description, they usually are talking about Black people. Now that's one tweet. Let me show you another one. I got to zoom in on this one. Now this one, she really let people know how she felt about Black people. Now this was a little blurry because the screenshot was so small, so I had to zoom in. So if you don't see it, I can see it on my end very good, like rather good. And I'll read to you what it says. Now this one is talking about reparations. Now she tweeted something from an account called the San Francisco Standard, and it was quote tweeted on September 19th. She says the recent plan aims to provide material and symbolic redress for Black San Franciscans, and then it put the San Francisco link. Then she replies with, no, Black San Franciscans owe the rest of us. Let me repeat that. Black San Franciscans owe the rest of us reparations for all the crime. The nerve of this bitch. Oh, you reparations? For what exactly? You just got here. She then says they're not all criminals. She asks it in the form of a question. She says, well, we're not all responsible for redlining. Their poor educational outcomes, low incomes, high incarceration rates, and whatever else they're demanding payment for. Well, guess what, Diane? We're not getting or asking you or demanding anything from you. We're talking about the government. Everything that she just said, redlining, poor education outcomes, low incomes, high incarceration rates, that's all from the government. Years of benign neglect. But she's using the same talking points that the people who gave her the title of model minority gave her. This topic of reparations, Diane, is none of your business. If we want to be technically honest here. Mike Melajon says she's literally the East Asian equivalent of Ben Shapiro. Shout out to Fauna Faye again for the $5 super chat. This is they commit major crimes, but PC is so infatuated with their women and culture they get away with it, from the human trafficking to the fentanyl, especially that part about that human trafficking. Let's talk about all of those parlors, quote unquote, that they got running amok around here, and how many times they get caught with their hand in the cookie jar. I swear I probably come across at least one or two of those type of stories per month. Exactly, Miss Renee. Ain't nobody paying her nothing. Pay her. I won't even pay her in dust. I'm gonna hold on to my dust. So that's her, and that's another tweet that she posted as it pertains to reparations. Now I'm gonna get to the post that actually inspired this stream that we are having right now. This is the tweet right here, or the post that she made that made me want to roast her. Now pay attention to this. It's going to read off like a complete and utter lie. Yesterday, she posted this on October 30th, 2023. So this was just a few days, not even a whole week. Yesterday, I walked past a black man in the TL, and I found out TL is something called the Tenderloin. It's some kind of area in California. For those who are in California right now, y'all can better explain it than I could. And she said, and he called me an effing C. I'm not going to say what the word is, but y'all can read between the lines. Repeatedly, and threatened to follow me home and delete me. For what? Looking at him. Now, to my knowledge, this place that she's describing or talking about is very Skid Row-ish. They said it's a lot of homeless people out there. It's some criminals out there. One person had the wherewithal to ask this question. Well, why were you out there? You don't live anywhere near that. Why were you out there in the first place? This, again, doesn't even sound remotely true, but okay, whatever. She goes on to say, I wonder how a grown man doesn't understand that existing in public means that sometimes people might look at you. Now, keep in mind, she's trying to paint up the big black boogeyman trope. Something else that PC has been known to do since their inception, especially their women. So we see where she's getting her cues from, and we know who her audience is. That's why she's doing it. But what's so crazy and pathetic is that her followers literally hang off of every word that she says. She goes on to say, maybe I'm being unkind. Maybe he just needs some resources, like someone in his life to teach him. People sometimes glance at each other in public. This is normal and not a good reason to use racial slurs or make death threats. What did I tell y'all? I told y'all when Asians got that anti-hate crime bill, that they were going to increase the anti-blackness on they were going to go full stop with it. My thing is this. She has a phone. If this happened to her like she claims it did, why didn't she do like most millennials and Gen Z does and pull it out and start recording the interaction? And she made sure to mention that it was a black man that did it. There's no proof of any of her claims. None. But she wants us to believe that. Okay. She goes on to say, he is right, though. I was looking at him. He was crouched in the middle of the sidewalk, digging through a backpack. I was looking at him so I could pick a path around him and pass two other men passed out on the street. If she don't get this damsel in distress nonsense out of here, this scoundrel is looking for controversy where there is none. JK, she said, I highly doubt this happened. I'll take it a step further and say it did not happen. I'm going to stand on that. Until she actually provides proof that it happened, it didn't happen. It did not happen. She says, what? Are you saying that I should exercise my right to self-defense by slaughtering everyone who lives in the same neighborhood as this guy? Thanks, but no thanks. I guess she's replying to, okay, she's talking about that. Okay, she says, check out the quote tweets of the original post. So many black people in denial. Ooh, they're so mad. And that's why she posted this. She did this to get an arousal out of black people. She's probably laughing as she posted this. She said, I'm going to post something that I know is going to grab the attention of black people, is going to rile them up. And then I'm going to sit back and have a nice laugh and a kiki and a smile. Y'all, if you didn't know what a grifter was, you're looking at one right now. And I'm gonna prove that later on. And hey, look, I just asked the question that she's asked right here that people was asking, where's the recording? Because I told you she would have pulled out her phone and recorded it nine times out of 10, this interaction. She says, where's the recording? She said, you see, when someone is swearing, calling me racial slurs, and threatening to follow me home and kill me, my first thought is to get away, not to record. Plus, he'd probably grab my phone and fling it or worse. Do you know how many interactions black people have been in with these PC individuals and even some of your people, Diane, and they recorded it because they needed the evidence and they wanted it to go viral so people can see evidence? Because nowadays, for you to just say something like this and you make this claim, it doesn't go very far. This woman's story was a complete lie from the time she wrote this part. When she said, yesterday I walked, at that point, we knew that she was lying because we know of her anti-black sentiments. This woman will do anything she can to gravitate attention her way. And how does she do it? By using black people as the scapegoat. If you look at her page, she talks about a host of different things. Anything that will get her attention. Right now, she's talking about what's going on across the pond, but she manages to slip in some stuff in there about anti-blackness every now and then, such as this post right here that she posted on November 2nd, 2023. So she's quoting a screenshot that she took of someone who wrote a post on November 2nd, 2023 by the name of Porter 9019 at Great Mortician. They said Latasha Harlins, born January 1st, 1976 to March 16th, 1991, was an African-American girl who was fatally shot at the age of 15 by Soon the Jew, who was Korean, a 49-year-old Korean-American convenience store owner. And shout out to the fundraiser. It says, why didn't she call the police then cry about anti-Asian hate, but be the last ones to report it, which is why their stats are always low? Good point. Why didn't she call the police? Notice she didn't say anywhere in her little rant that she called the cops. If you are feeling your life is so much danger like it is, why didn't you call them? After all, aren't they there to serve and protect you? Now, peep this. Now, this is in response to Latasha Harlins. Now, peep how she's being completely dismissive of what happened to Latasha Harlins. She says, why are people still bringing up Latasha Harlins? It's been over 30 years. I bet these people also minimize Black on Asian violence. So she basically is saying, F Latasha Harlins. It's been 30 years. Get over it. What we need to talk about right now is how Black people are so anti-Asian. That's the meal of the day. That's the soup and stew of the day. Then she goes on to say, reminds me of those still focusing on October 7th while ignoring the horrifying videos from Gaza that have come out every single day since. And then she goes on to say, there it is. I knew I wouldn't have to wait long. Who, quote unquote, started it really is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Then she says, yeah, but only because you keep committing new ones. And she said, well, she wasn't responding to this person right here, says, yeah, but you guys bring up anti-aging crimes all the time. And she said, yeah, but only because you keep committing new ones. Maybe stop attacking us if you don't want us to bring up anti-Asian violence. So she keeps pushing out this narrative that is Black people that's consistently attacking and going out and attacking Asian people. Now, do y'all understand why I made this stream? These are the people y'all don't know about. That if they get enough push, they can get themselves out there even more with their rhetoric, and we have to get them before that happens. So that's that part right there. Now, one thing I wanted to show y'all was this post right here by an account named Ming Hung Lo. This is an Asian individual right here. And I'll be honest, this guy right here be checking the hell out of them PCs and those people like Diane Yap. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to what this guy wrote on here, because he checked the hell out of her and he pretty much exposed her grift. This man right here, who is Asian himself, exposed Diane Yap's grift. Pay attention to what it says. Diane Yap demonstrates how to profit from anti-Black racism in 3 easy steps. Now, here's the crazy part. These 3 easy steps could be applied to not just her, but anybody who does the anti-Black grift. Number 1, post a story with 0 evidence in our day of modern cell phones. Now, this is in response to the one where she was talking about the Black man called her that word. Number 2, wait for the lowest white men to feel uplifted upon reading. What she did, I just didn't go through the quoted tweets because they were in there agreeing with her and saying how, listen, some of them was about to go out there and try to see if they can go out there with their pitchforks to try to go after this man. That doesn't exist. Number 3, take donations from the lowest white men and repeat step 1. Now, what he did was he screenshotted some of the stuff that she said. As y'all can see right here, I don't have to reread it. Y'all can see it. Then he posted up a post from Lyndon B. Johnson that says, and we've all heard it, but I'll read it for those who are unaware. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this part right here. This is Diane Yap's, a screenshot from Diane Yap's X page, her main page, you know, where your bio is, your name, your profile picture, and all of that. If you notice this part right here, it's a dollar sign. It's like a dollar symbol. This woman has donations activated. I wonder how many times that button has been clicked every time she's posted something like this. There lies in her grift being exposed. She posts these outlandish, outrageous things in order for people to click this button and send her money. And like I said, these steps right here can be applied to all grifters, because they all do the same. They all play the same game. Shout out to the 360 people that are in here. We almost at 400. I can't believe it on this lovely early Sunday afternoon. We should be done by 4 o'clock though, because I only got about a couple more things to show. But yeah, so shout out to Ming Hung Lo on Twitter, because he exposed her grift. And yes, yeah, Blueberry Muffin. Yes, Ming Hung Lo is Asian. He is Asian. It's not a troll account, by the way. But someone had asked me, Torian, was I going to talk about what happened at Cornell University? And I said, yes, I will talk about it, but I didn't tell them when. I didn't want to say it was going to be in a video. I didn't want to say it was going to be in my live stream on Friday because I knew I was going to save it for today. So I'm going to go ahead and let this news clip play out. And for those of you who are unaware, y'all about to find out what happened recently at Cornell University.
News: a Cornell student is under arrest, and he is expected to appear in court tomorrow afternoon in Syracuse for his role in making online threats towards his own campus's Jewish community. Good evening. I'm Matt Mulcahy. You're watching NBC3 News at 11. The suspect is 21-year-old junior engineering major from Pittsburgh, the area just outside Rochester. His name is Patrick Dye. The anti-Semitic threat he's accused of left the Cornell campus in shock as police agencies stepped up forces on campus this week in the interest of safety for students.
These students will sleep a little bit better tonight knowing that there is a person of interest in custody, and the message is clear. You will be caught. You may think that you can be anonymous and post what you want, but there will be consequences, and this will be an example of how serious we are taking these threats against New Yorkers.
Our Dale Ostrander is digging deeper tonight into these threats that Patrick Dye is accused of making and how his classmates on campus are reacting to it tonight.
The suspect that was arrested and charged with posting anti-Semitic comments is 21-year-old Patrick Day, a junior attending Cornell. The federal complaint alleges Day posted threatening messages to the Cornell section of an online discussion site. Those messages included calling for the death of Jewish people, shooting campus buildings, and stabbing anyone of Jewish descent. Day also allegedly threatening to shoot up 104 West, a kosher dining hall on campus. The dining hall is also next to the Cornell Jewish Center, where many Jewish students spend their time on campus and have been battling with death threats that have been made to Jewish students on campus.
I can't imagine what would go through the mind of someone like that. Just, first of all, you're making threats on this random website. Why would you do that? And I think it's really ridiculous. And I'm glad that the person was taken into custody.
I mean, I've seen general anti-Semitic sentiment, things like that, but to have not only a direct threat, but a direct threat to a building that I personally go to and eat at and see friends at, that was really scary. And it was bad.
Friedman never thought that one of his classmates could be responsible for the death threats made.
I really don't think, and I don't believe that somebody at Cornell would make such evil and vile and disgusting threats. And I really think that it's an attempt to tear us apart. I don't want to be torn apart. I don't want to look at my fellow classmate and think that's my enemy. I want to think that's my classmate. I want to have, conversations and have dialogues with those people and try to find common ground and common understanding.
In another post made by Day, he allegedly threatened to stab and slit the throat of any Jewish males he sees on campus and throw any Jewish females off a cliff, amongst other comments that we are choosing not to share due to their vulgarity.
Now, Dye is expected to make his initial appearance tomorrow in federal court in Syracuse that is scheduled for 2:30 in the afternoon. The charge filed against Dye carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a fine up to $250,000. In studio, I'm Dale Ostrander.
All right, so y'all just heard that right there. And I know some of y'all was in the chat saying, why didn't they show his face? You want to know what's so interesting? Well, first off, there's his face. That's him right there. That is him right here. Now, what's interesting is that when I was looking for clips to show, not one clip I saw showed his face in any of them. We got his name, but they never showed his face. I was even going to pull up an article and read it. And in the article, it didn't even have his picture on there either. Now, I had to go to Google and type into Google Images his name to pull up this picture. But no news clip that I came across, and I came across a few of them before I decided to choose this one because this one was more lengthier than the other ones. Here we go. I had to click off of the video to get his picture because they didn't have it incorporated into it. So, Diane, I have a question. You want to say that it's black people that's going around doing these things? What do you have to say about this? And by the way, I went through Diane's X timeline, and not once did she post about this. Not shocking. But there is one other incident that happened that did not make the news. And that's this video that went viral on social media where you had this black man who was on a bus, who was playing his music. I don't think he had his headphones in or something like that. And, sometimes that can be annoying. You know, when someone is playing their music loud and they don't have their headphones in. Take it from somebody who has taken public transit for a couple of years. Trust me, I know it can be very annoying. But that's no excuse to do what this woman who was Asian did to this black man. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video, and you're going to see exactly how she behaves.
What's that? What are you doing? What are you doing to everyone else who's here? Talk about everybody else. Get the fuck out my ear, bitch. Look at that. All of them. Get funny. You don't want someone to do to you. You think you can do things like that.
All right. So y'all heard that, right? And the music wasn't even loud. He was even at the back of the bus by himself, minding his business. And she got so irate that she started to howl and bark at him like a dog. You know what that reminded me of? Who's seen that movie, The Grudge? Y'all remember that movie, The Grudge? We had that creepy little boy that whenever he opened up his mouth, he would make the sound of a cat meowing. That's what reminds me of this chick right here, except she's howling and barking. Exactly, Pinky JYB. She was louder than the music. I heard more of her than whatever music this man was playing. I couldn't even tell you what song this man was listening to, but because she was overpowering it with all of the howling she was doing. And like someone said in the chat earlier, or not too long ago, she was looking for a conflict. She wanted this black man to hit her. She even said it. She said, I bet you want to hit me. I bet you won't hit me, but I bet you want to hit me. And that will lead right into the big black boogeyman trope that Diane Yap was talking about. And I guarantee you, if that man actually struck her, Diane Yap would have only posted that part of the video on her page and said, see, that proves my point. Anti-Asian hate is up another percent because of this black man. He hit her because she's Asian. Works like clockwork. DJ said, why did no one else tell her to stop? Good question. See, what happens is when you become a protected class, this is what happens. This is why they want black people out there stranded. The fact that she was able to do all of this and no one checked her. No one got in her face. No one told. The most he told this woman was to shut up, bitch. And he told her that twice and to get out of his face. And she kept doing it. See, him just calling her a B wasn't enough for them to say, oh, it was an anti-Asian hate. He would have had to call her a derogatory term behind that B or in front of it. And for it to go a step further, he would have had to have hit her for it to be then assault. I'm telling you, they're playing their hand. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be someone out there who could give a damn about what crime bill you got on that book and who signed it. She just better be lucky that this black man didn't want to get into it physically with her that day. Because not everybody is going to be or have that or show that much restraint. Red Harlot said, if we scream on public transportation, they think they can kill us, delete us for it. But when it's them, nobody's saying a thing. Exactly. And you want to know what's so crazy? Yeah, people out here to think that this is a quote unquote classy woman. Shout out to Hacksign KT for the $5 super chat. Like, this woman literally got up in this man's space and started howling and barking because he was listening to his music, which wasn't even loud, but she was louder than it. Make it make sense. But yeah, Diane, what you got to say about this? And this video was just posted a couple days ago, so it's very recent. Shout out to the fundraiser for the $5 super chat. He says, but let it have been a black man, all those people would have put him in a headlock. Oh, exactly. Think about what happened with Daniel Penny back in May. Yeah, where was the Daniel Penny of this bus? Nowhere to be found. Like I said, we have no friends. Peep why in the thumbnail where I said Diane Yap is the primary example, the primary reason why the POC, the people of color thing, does not and will not work for black people. You got examples from what she said, and you got an example from what this woman did right here. And shout out to X-Rated Wallow for the $4.99 super chase. That the Asian wake-up call is going to be something serious like what happened in Texas. Oh, you talking about Uvalde? Like I said, they kind of got it when they prematurely overturn affirmative action, but that's kind of small compared to what they could get. But yeah, man, y'all, listen, that is pretty much it. I just wanted y'all to see this. I wanted y'all to see who this Diane Yap chick is, so y'all know how to deal with that accordingly. If you ever hear that name again and that's just your first time hearing about it, y'all can say, oh, Torian, that's the one when he was talking about. So yeah, that's Diane Yap. But shout out to everybody who contributed to the stream. Shout out to Savion Draco Zero for becoming a member. Shout out to Fauna Faye, Keith Cunningham, the fundraiser, Fauna Faye, X-Rated Wallow, and I see Miss Obsidian Reloaded got that super chat to go through. They said, be careful around them in all situations, work, your neighborhood, etc. They are all looking for a reason to get you caught up. Right. If you can, stay out of their businesses as well. Because I told people last year, when they got that crime bill, they was going to ramp it up. And it looks like I was pretty much spot on. I called that early on when I saw how they was able to get it. They're going to ramp it up even more to maintain it. How do you maintain it? By keep doing the same thing that you did to get it. And shout out to Scoop 2003 for the $5 super chase. Where was the so-called agent 20 years ago? Non-existent. Exactly. But they had to use us as the launch pad to get it, as does everyone else. And keep that in mind going forward, because I'm telling you, the South of the Bordarians, the way I'm seeing some things turning up right now, they may be the next ones to get theirs. I'm just saying. I might be speaking prematurely, but I believe that's coming down the pipeline. But shout out to everybody who came through. I'm glad everyone was able to come through. Shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. Shout out to all my members. Again, if you are a member of the channel, I will be doing my first ever members only live stream on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to become a member, all you got to do is click that join button and you will become a member of the channel. Shout out to all of my subscribers. Shout out to everybody who hit the super chat button. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure y'all tune in this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to Afro Elites or Black Alpha Network or ZZ's channel, because they will be doing the For the Culture podcast. That'll be going down at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I definitely will be in there as well. I can't wait to see what they're going to discuss. They've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks now, and I'm very looking forward to what they have to say. We will be back here tomorrow with the one video at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I will go ahead and just tell you what the topic is going to be. It's going to be about the whole Blade movie debacle. It's like a 20-minute video that I put together about that whole Blade movie situation and all the information that we know about it so far and the future of it. So be sure to tune into that. And with that being said, y'all be safe and be one.